All right. Well, by my watch, it looks like it's 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. Welcome everybody. Introduce myself. My name's Jeremy Goldman. I'm the School Counseling Department Chair at Pikesville High. We have a full slate tonight. I'm glad it looks like we have about tripled our attendance from last year, so I'm really pleased about that. We have Benet Edwards from Maryland Higher Education Commission, Jennifer Bowers coming tonight from the Central Scholarship Bureau, and Delegate Dana Stein also came because he wants to hear from you. So we'll find a time either between Benet and Jennifer, because Jennifer said she's going to get here around 8, depending on your questions. So he's available as well. And on the back, I've got a computer sort of scrolling a Twitter hashtag on the College Cash hashtag. I can explain that later if you want. It's a great way to get tips for scholarships. But without further ado, and I guess just so you know, with the video camera, I've got the iPad that I funded through Donors Choose, and I'm really proud about that. So we can sort of broadcast tonight's presentations on YouTube for those parents that couldn't come, or if you missed anything, then you can watch that. So sort of look for announcements from that. But that being said, let me turn it over to Ms. Edwards from Maryland Higher Ed Commission.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. So I know it's a little late in the evening, but hopefully you will get some good information. Wait a minute, not hopefully. I know you will get some good information, okay? And ask questions, please, throughout this presentation. Again, I am Benet Edwards. I am with the Maryland Higher Education Commission. I'm going to touch a little on the federal program, and I'm also going to go into a little bit of detail about the state financial aid programs. Please ask me any questions, okay? At any time. First, it's always good to have a financial aid to-do list. How many seniors, parents with seniors in here tonight? Oh, wow. Full house, huh? Okay. So I know saying that you all have that financial aid to-do list ready. It's ready to go. With the financial aid to-do list, it's basically understanding the deadlines for the awards. Start understanding what needs to happen and what are these deadlines. Completing the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. We all know that is very important. I'm sure everyone's heard that over and over again, how important that is. And contact the institutions that your child may be interested in attending. And always continue to apply for any type of aid, scholarships, or whatever it may be, or other grant monies. And I did hear that Jennifer will be here from Central Scholarship, and I know she has some great information to share. We're going to jump right in. Types and sources of assistance. Types and sources of financial aid assistance. Types of aid, you have grants, which we know that's free money. You don't have to pay that back. Scholarships, free money. You may have to do a little work to get it, such as writing the essay, but that is basically free money, and we want to exhaust everything possible to get as many scholarships as we can. Loans. We all know what a loan is. Pretty simple. You borrow the money, what do you do? Pay it back. Simple, a loan. And work study. Work study is that money that a student is earning when he or she is in college. Now the sources of financial aid. The sources of aid you have. You have federal aid. That will be you have the federal loan programs, your direct programs. You have the Pell Grant as well as some other grant funds. State aid. With the Maryland Higher Education Commission, who I am representing tonight, we administer all state aid in the state of Maryland. We award over $100 million a year to more than 57,000 students. And then you have institutional aid. Institutional aid will be the aid that colleges and universities offer. So it's always very important to communicate with the higher education institutions that your child may be interested in attending or planning to attend to learn more about the scholarship program that they have available, because they raise a lot of funds to do that, I know as well. And then you have private. What would be private? Banks, churches, credit unions, all types of organizations, your private organizations, your corporations. Definitely you want to tap into those funds also. And other. Sometimes we just have to go to family and friends. It's okay. Do a little fundraising to help pay for college. It's a great fundraising effort. Now, to apply for assistance, applying for financial assistance. Research, research, research. Research program eligibility requirements. Understand the eligibility requirements. Do you want to waste your time applying for things that you say there's, like, wait, I need to be 75 years old? Why would you do that if you are high school, right? That's just those type of things, understanding those things. Do not miss deadlines. We all know that we're applying for money and there's deadlines attached to it, so we need to understand the deadlines. Do not miss deadlines. A lot of money is get canceled and is not awarded because the deadlines are not met. Complete all required forms. Which form do we start with? The first form that we're going to complete. The FAFSA, first one. And it's so important to complete that form no matter what. Would you say, I am not going to qualify for anything, so I'm not going to complete the FAFSA? Please do not take that approach. Please do not take that approach. Why should we not take that approach?
Because the school won't consider you if you don't even fill it out.
You want to be considered for all aid. You may not be considered for need-based aid. But what if an institution is offering merit-based aid and their application packet says the FAFSA is required with that packet? So now you cannot be considered because you didn't complete it. And I've heard often, I do not want to share my financial information or my personal information. No one is looking at that information except for the people that are required to look at it to make some determinations about your aid eligibility. Always follow up to ensure that everything is completed. All documents are in. Follow up. I would say we don't want to wait to receive the phone call. We want to give timely manners for things to happen and for processes to happen. But you should always follow up anyway. You know, it's best to follow up. And whatever email is being used, whichever email is used, check it. Do not use an email that's not being checked. That's a very important thing, to always check the email. The FAFSA, free application for federal student aid, very important. That is a federal application. You can file it online, FAFSA.gov. Complete all items on it. If it is a 0, should you enter that 0? Yes, complete all items, so you want to do it. There's so much help available. Do you pay anyone to help you complete this? No. Are there a number of businesses that will say, we charge a small fee to help you? Yes, it's a business, but it's free. The federal government will help you fill it out. They have a hotline you can call, and they help in all types of things. Your counselors can help. It's free. The first word is free. A PIN, the personal identification number. To sign the application electronically, students and parents will need a PIN. That's the sign electronically. Students need a PIN, parents need a PIN. On the FAFSA application, for state institutions, for state aid, you must list the school on the application. Yes.
Okay, parents need a PIN and students
And students need a PIN, yes. Parents need a PIN and students need a PIN. And you know what? That's your PIN for life, unless you change it. That's your PIN, so keep up with it. And once you complete that application, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you can list up to about 10 colleges and universities on the FAFSA. For state aid, should you list a state institution? Yes. Because otherwise, how do you know what you're going to qualify for this institution or state monies if you don't have a state institution? When you list it, once you list the colleges and universities on that application, your information will be forwarded to that institution. So you want to list at least one Maryland institution, even if your child is thinking, I don't want to go to a state school. I don't want a school in Maryland. But it's okay, because it's not going to cost you anything to have your information sent to that institution. And there is a deadline for state aid. There is a deadline. What is that deadline? March 1. Meaning, the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, needs to be completed and submitted by when? March 1. Everything needs to be in by March 1. Now, That is state aid deadline. There's always a possibility that a college or university will have an earlier deadline. So should you know the colleges and universities' deadlines as well? Yes, you should, because you don't want to miss their deadline. We definitely don't want to miss the state deadline, but what if somebody has a deadline for January 31st? You want to make sure you have everything completed and in. Any questions on what I've gone over thus far? Yes.
With the FAFSA, if you're a married couple, do each husband and wife gets a pin?
You're going to need a pen, yes, because they're going to ask you, you're going to put in your information for the pen, and you all are going to sign it.
Oh, and
It's signed because you're going to, for your name will have your pen.
spouse's name?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes. Yes.
I assume there's a bigger pool of money in the beginning. Are your chances better the earlier you submit?
Yes and no. That's a tough question. I mean, you want to get in the loop, but money, when it comes to need-based aid, that's going to be awarded differently. But when you start talking about scholarships with institutions, that could be different because that's not based on need-based. Need-based is going to be looking at the amount of money based on EFC and things like that, expected family contribution. So it's a yes and a no, depending on where the money is coming from. That's a tough one. Yes.
Real quick, I'm sorry, just to follow up on her question. So if it's a husband and wife, do both husband and wife both need
Yes.
pins?
You're going to need a pen.
Both?
Two pins.
Yes.
One for the husband,
One
one
for
for
the
the
But
husband
yes,
and one
you're
for
going
the
to need a
wife.
pen. Yes. Everybody's going to need it. Because the pen is, because just say for instance, if a husband and a wife both attended college already, they both have a pen already. And your pen is to you, is your pen. The student is going to have a pen. Whatever pen you have is your pen for life unless you change that pen. So you have to keep up with it. I mean, I've been out of school for a while, but if I go back to college,
I don't have a pin, it's too long ago.
too long ago. Oh, you are when you, yeah. So I still have the same pen. I still have the same pen I've had for a long time.
If you have a pin from a previous child, that would be your pin?
That is your pen. That's still your pen that you use. Yes. And you know, if you don't remember your pen, there's somewhere for you to look it up if you don't remember it, and do things like that too. Get it right on the computer. Again, I already said about listing one institution. You want to make sure that when you complete and submit the FAFSA that you have your confirmation page. You want to make sure you have your confirmation page. And it's very important that the student's name that's on the application is the student's legal name, meaning the name on the application and the social security cards must match. Okay? The student's legal name. And there will be a few questions on tax information. So if you have not completed your taxes prior to the March 1st deadline, should you wait and not complete and submit the FAFSA? No. Estimate. Estimate based on previous years, last check stub, go back into the FAFSA and update your information once you have completed your taxes. Now, there's also what they have now, the IRS data retrieval button, where you can pull your information in from the Internal Revenue Service, which is what you would really want to do if your taxes are completed. If you have done your taxes, okay? So you really want to look at that because that will save time if a family is selected for some verification information. It'll save time because you would not have to go to the federal government, to the IRS, and say, may I have my tax transcript and those kind of things. It'll save you a little time, but you will need your tax information. And there are some things that may prevent you from using that IRS retrieval button, but that information will be on the application. Any questions on that information? Now, once you have completed and submitted your FAFSA, you now receive your student aid report, which is referred to as the SAR. You now receive your student aid report. On that student aid report, it is going to include the expected family contribution. The SAR will include all the information that you had on your application. So how you answer those questions will be on the SAR, and it's also going to have a number there that says expected family contribution. We know we have a March 1 deadline for state aid, right? So once you complete and submit the FAFSA and you list a state, college, or university, the state of Maryland, which is the Maryland Higher Education Commission, will receive that information. It will be downloaded into our system because you listed a state, college, or university. Now, fine if you do it before the deadline. But just say you complete your FAFSA and then you go back and make some changes after March 15th. Now you need to contact the commission and submit your information to us because we will not have it because it's past the deadline. Okay? So if you make changes, that's something that you will have to do. No changes required. It's in by March 1. You receive that student aid report. What do? Just put it away in a very safe place because that's your personal information on it, okay? Expected family contribution. What is it? Just what it says, okay? Expected family contribution. Expected family contribution is a formula calculated by law. It will assist colleges and universities with determining the eligibility for federal Pell Grants and other need-based aid. Now, I said it's a formula. Federal is law. So, some people may not like to say I may not be able to get this amount of money based on my EFC. Keep in mind, the college or university did not calculate that number. It was given to them by a formula by law, with this calculated with the federal government, okay? So please understand that before you get a little upset with the college and universities or even the commission. We didn't do it either. Okay, and we're also going to look at cost of attendance because the EFC combined with college cost of attendance will make a big difference also. Before we look at a little simple calculation of cost of attendance, we're going to touch on the Maryland College Aid Processing System, which is MDCAPS. MDCAPS is the state of Maryland's financial aid system. Every student, each student that's received Maryland state aid will need this account, MDCAPS account. You would go to our website and you all have brochures. I saw you have different brochures. The red one is just an overall brochure and our web address is on the back. And a student could go there and look and click on MDCAPS and create a student profile. Once a student creates a student login profile, the student will receive an email to the email address that they use, and there will be a little link there. Click on that link, and now the account is activated. So every student, each student would need to create the student login profile for an account at MDCAPS, and that's basically the communication with the commission. I mean, you receive emails and things like that, but this accepting awards, looking at what's happening with the money, all of that happens through MDCAPS. Students can create that account at any time. I mean, students could create it tomorrow if they wanted to look at it. So students can create that account at any time. Now, I talked about cost of attendance. We're going to get into that, a little calculation. This is basically cost of attendance. Colleges and universities share this information with you on their website. Tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies. Now we do have an estimate here, a couple of estimates here. Transportation and personal expenses. Now, a college or university may say that this is what their average is for their transportation expenses as well as personal expenses. But if the school says it's $9,100 and you end up paying $9,200, is that really a reason to be upset with them? They're estimating on some of it, but it's going to be very close. Because, I mean, your personal expenses may be a little different, or transportation may be a little different. But it's going to be very close based on the averages, what they're working with. and colleges and universities share this information with you. They share it with you. Basically, a simple calculation here. Cost of attendance minus EFC. If the cost of attendance for an institution is $10,500 and the expected family contribution is $3,500, a student has to meet a need of $7,000, meaning that's the money that the student needs to pay for college. How could a student come up with that $7,000? What type of monies are available? Grants? Scholarships? Just a number of ways to pay for that money, to pay that $7,000. But that's what would need to be paid. There's a $7,000 need. What about state? You know, we have state money, you have federal money, you have private monies. There's a number of ways to meet that need. Any questions on what I've gone over up to this point? Any questions? No questions? Okay. So we're going to jump into talking about state financial aid programs. State financial aid programs. I'm going to highlight two programs tonight. That's going to be our Howard P. Rollins Educational Assistance Grant and our Howard P. Rollins Guaranteed Access Grant, which falls under the Howard P. Rollins Program of Educational Excellence. I don't know, I think I see this brochure, so you all have this brochure as well. So it's a Howard P. Rollins brochure, it's the purple one. And there's two grants under this need-based program. And then we have our legislative scholarships. And that's the green one. You all should have that one as well. For the legislative scholarships, we have senatorial and delegates. Senatorial
get that one.
You want to get that one? Okay. Now we're going to talk about our educational assistance first. Howard P. Rollins, the purple one first. This information is in here. The educational assistance grant can be, a student could be awarded up to $3,000. Up to $3,000. For any state award, we must be state residents. Parents and students must be state residents. That's just for any state awards. And a student must demonstrate a financial need, educational assistance. I say it is need-based. Need-based. Students must be enrolled at a 2-year or 4-year degree-seeking institution as a full-time student. Full-time. What is full-time? 12 credit hours or more. 12 credit hours or more. Students must be full-time to receive this money. For the educational assistance money, up to $3,000. What a student needs to do? Complete the FAFSA before March 1st. Meet the other eligibility criteria. And there's a possibility they could receive this money. Okay? Any questions on the educational assistance money? All right. Guaranteed access. The second grant under the Howard P. Rollins program. The guaranteed access grant, a student can be awarded up to $16,100 annually. Up to $16,100. The catch to this: high school seniors are eligible to apply for this money. High school seniors. All right? Now it says once out of high school, you may not apply. Now, if a student has been out of school within 1 year and there's some type of really, really serious circumstance that happened, there's a possibility that a student could possibly write a letter and some things like that. But it's for high school seniors. So high school seniors, that's who this is for. So a student would apply as a senior. As a senior. This is an application for this money that will be on the Commission's website. This application will be posted sometime in January, and it will remain on the website. So that's something that you want to make sure you do for that guaranteed access grant. Students need to complete and submit the guaranteed access application. And we already know the March 1st deadline for the FAFSA, right? 2.5 cumulative unweighted GPA. Cumulative 2.5 unweighted GPA. We know what that is, unweighted, right? All right, unweighted. And again, 2-year or 4-year degree-seeking institution. Now, full-time, 12 credit hours or more. If a student decides I'm only going to take 9 credit hours, what happens? That are eligible for the money. So, parents, students, 12 credit hours or more. Students in college may want to pay attention to their credit hours they're taking. Okay? Because you don't want them to drop below 12 hours. And I've been a college student. We all know what we do sometimes. So, legislative scholarships. We're going to go into that. Any questions on the Howard P. Rollins? We have 2 grants on the Howard P. Rollins. Any questions on that? Yes.
Is this only if your child is going to a state?
For the Howard P. Rollins, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
for
if
state
we're
school.
going out of state.
You cannot take the Howard P. Rollins money out of
Okay.
state. Yes. And on the guaranteed access, I will say this about the guaranteed access, the grant that is up to $16,100. Once a student is awarded that money, they have a 2-week window to accept that money. If they do not accept that award within 2 weeks, it will be canceled. 2 weeks to accept the money, or it will be canceled. Legislative scholarships. You have your senatorial and your delegate scholarships. High school seniors can apply, undergraduate, graduates, career, or technical school. This is a wide range. This money can be used for full or part-time enrollment. Again, we know it's Maryland residents. So that's pretty common. We're going to first talk about the senatorial scholarship. The senatorial scholarship, $400 and up. Same deadline, March 1. Same deadline, March 1. Each senator will award their money differently. There is no just set way that says a senator must do it this way. To apply for this senatorial scholarship, you would need to contact the senator of your district. Contact the senator of your district to apply. You will contact their office and they will be able to provide you with more details on how to apply for that money. The senatorial scholarship is renewable, meaning that if a student is awarded that renewable scholarship, maintain the satisfactory academic progress and whatever other requirements that it may be, they will receive this money each year. It is renewable. It is renewable. Delegate scholarship, $200 and up annually. Again, the delegates in your district have money. So you would want to talk with your delegates about the money they have available, so you would contact their office as well. Delegate scholarships are non-renewable. They're not renewable, so meaning that a student would need to apply for that money each year. And again, delegates award their money the way they would like to award their money, so there's no set rule on how they must do this. Delegates set their own rules on how they want to do it. And totally disregard the FAFSA may not be required because you just don't know. The delegates could say, MHEC, the commission, would you award that money? And we're going to look at the FAFSA, and all state aid, you need to complete the FAFSA no matter what. You need to complete the FAFSA no matter what. Now, senatorial and delegate scholarships. There is a possibility that a student could take this money out of state if they're awarded this money. A student will have to have a unique major, what is considered a unique major. A unique major is a major that's not offered in the state of Maryland. And then you have what we call the academic common market. So if students meet these requirements and they are awarded a legislative scholarship, there's a possibility that money could follow them, and a possibility there are some other benefits that the student may receive if the state is in the academic common market. And all that information is on our website as well. So this money is a possibility could go out of state if the major is not offered in the state of Maryland. Is not offered in the state of Maryland. Any questions on the delegate and senatorial scholarship? I would definitely, definitely start talking with your senator and your delegates about their process. Definitely want to start contacting them about it because they want to award the money. They want to see it. So definitely call them about it. Career-based programs. We have a number of career-based programs. We try to touch on these lightly. There's a number of these programs on our website. But I really like to just, when we go out, we talk about our two most popular programs, and that's our legislative scholarships as well as Howard P. Rollins. Some of these programs are more for students that's graduated already from college and things like that. But there are some that a student may be able to apply for. But these are things that may benefit some of you, possibly, in that, by that way. We have our unique population aid. Unique population aid. We have our tuition waiver programs. You have tuition waiver for foster care recipients. You may not be able to take advantage of this program, but if you know someone, share this information. A student in foster care could possibly attend college free because their mandatory fees and tuition is totally waived before any grants or scholarships are applied. And then you have the tuition waiver for students with disabilities. This is totally kind of managed at the community college level, but that's another great waiver if you know someone that may be able to take advantage of that benefit as well. And we have some other benefits for veterans and things of that nature that is on our website also. That's on our website also. Any questions? Well, maybe I just did so good. Or maybe I'm just boring you. Yeah.
How is the EFC calculated?
There's a number of factors in the EFC. Basically, a form that the federal government uses. I was at a training with the federal government last week, and they just said a number of factors that's used. But I'm sure that information is available, and I may even have it at my fingertips, but I just don't want to call it off.
Is there a way to play around with it to get an idea?
Yes, you can.
Without filling it out and submitting it?
Yes, you can look at the FAFSA forecaster, and that will give you just an idea of what you may be eligible for. So you can do that right now. You can go to that FAFSA website, studentaid.gov, studentaid.ed.gov website, and you can look at things like that to do the FAFSA forecaster as well. That's a good way to look at, maybe this is what I may be eligible to receive. Yes. Yes.
Could you explain that calculation again? I don't like to be thick about it, but I don't understand. The college costs, I think you said $10,000, and your EFC was $3,000. What exactly does that number mean?
The EFC is calculated by, it's a number of factors that the federal government uses. So we, like say for instance, if I work at a college or university, we just receive that number. And the college and university will use that number to help determine need-based aid. So basically, if a cost for the year is $10,500, and they said the EFC is $3,500. So the lower the EFC, the more need-based money the student will receive to help reduce what they owe.
Oh.
Yeah. So the lower the EFC is saying that student is in a greater need, basically, and they will give like maybe Pell Grants and other things to help reduce what the student has to pay for school. Yes. Yes.
What's a Pell Grant?
Pell Grant is free money for college based on the EFC, the need base. A number of things comes into that, such as house size, the number in the household, the financial information, just a lot of different things factors that come into that. And I will say this, Pell Grant is totally need-based, so everyone will not qualify for the Pell Grant, obviously, but it is free money. But always, always, always talk with the financial aid office at the colleges and universities, because the financial aid offices, the counselors and directors, they have ability to make magic and to help you understand or go through a lot of things with you to kind of make the process a little smoother. That is very important to do. Yes.
How do you
apply for a Pell Grant? Is that through the state?
Through the Pell Grant is federal money, so once you complete the FAFSA, that's applying for the Pell Grant, basically, yes. Because they'll look at that EFC and some other things to determine it. Yes.
When's an appropriate time to contact the college aid office? When
I
they're
would-
accepted, is that?
I would start contacting them now. I mean, you can start, I would start talking with them right now, because you just set an appointment with them, start learning about the programs that are available and things like that. Because each year, the FAFSA becomes available each year, January 1. So every year, there's a new FAFSA. And they're gonna put it out there January 1. So I would start talking now, because it's never too early to start learning about, the programs are available and what you need to do to apply for some of that money that they have as well. Yes.
Just in addition to that, it's better to contact the financial aid office as soon as possible with different schools. Because I know some of the schools, they track how many times you call about the student, so they can see that you're really interested in that school. So, if you got a few calls in, they know, oh, this kid's really interested in coming there.
That's a nice little tactic right there, but you're right. Contact, and then any school. I mean, every school that your child is interested in attending, you definitely want to talk with them. And I'm not going to say that because I don't want to be heard saying that. But you want to you want to look at what is available, what each school is offering you. And we're probably not supposed to say that, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. But you want to look at the packages that are being offered for financial aid, because every school is different. But I would start talking with them like right now, and start calling your delegate, and find out like what's how the process works in his office. Very important. And you all are very fortunate because you probably have a delegate in the house. I had a question somewhere back here. Yes.
So, I know that like in past years I've heard from other people, I have actually a friend who's a guidance counselor in a private school, and I hear like murmurs about other types of money that's out there, whether it is some money based on number of community service hours you might have had, or money based on music abilities, whatever it is. I'm curious how we might become aware of those various areas where there might be money without relying on our guidance counselor to provide that information for us.
Yes. There are a number of scholarship opportunities. I just don't go into a lot of that information. Jennifer, I'm sure you will touch on some of that when she comes up. But there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of money out there that is true based on a number of abilities, and it's a way to get to it. But we just don't touch on it a lot with the state because for not endorsing any particular organization. But I'm sure Jennifer will definitely go on that information. Yes. Any other questions for me? Final recommendations, deadlines. The FAFSA will be available January 1st. Apply as early as you can. Know the deadlines for the colleges and universities that your child may be interested in attending, because it could be earlier. Starting each year, from senior year until a child completes college, the FAFSA should be completed. Starting each year as a senior. Apply for as many grants and scholarships as possible. Just apply. You want to make sure that you apply. State aid, as I'm talking about, as I represent tonight, parents and students need to be Maryland residents, okay? And talk with all the financial aid professionals that you can at the colleges and universities where you're interested in attending, as well as your counselor here. It's very important. They have a lot of good information for you. Okay? Yes?
So would you say it's advisable to do your 2013 tax return first so that you don't have to put estimates on the FAFSA? You pull real numbers off of it.
If you had to complete it to go ahead and have it in by March 1, that's great, because you can just hit that IRS data retrieval button and it'll just pull your information right in.
And it'll be the real information?
It'll be the real information because you completed without the estimate. It'll be the real information.
So as a follow-up to that, though, if you wanted to do your estimate, and then when you completed your taxes, then upgraded, would that be
Yeah, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Because you do not want to just hold up and wait because your taxes are not. That's not. Don't do that at all. Go ahead and do it. This is just a snapshot of the commission's website, and you see there's information here. It says students, parents, and counselor. There's a lot of information there. You also see in the left here, student financial assistance office. You all probably can't see this. The student financial assistance office. They have a lot of information. They manage all state aid. All that is administered through our Office of Student Financial Assistance, so you can learn about all of our programs here as well. And you also, I encourage you to also go in and just kind of look at the information that's there and learn more about the programs that we talked about tonight. Any other questions? And this is the contact information for the Maryland Higher Education Commission if you would like to contact our office. And you do have this information on your brochures as well. No questions? Well, great. Thank you so much.
Just wanted to see if it worked. Well, good evening to all of you, and I hope you don't mind if I step in a little closer and get a little more intimate. We're going to talk about some really important information today. A little bit about who I am and what organization I represent. My name is Jen Bauer, and I work with Central Scholarship. Has anybody heard of Central Scholarship? Still somewhat the best kept secret in Baltimore, right? I hear that said about us. Central Scholarship. We were established in 1924, and way back then, we had strong Jewish roots, and we still, to a certain degree, have strong Jewish roots today. So many of our donors are still with us. But back in 1924, we funded vocational training for orphan Jewish men. And since then, we've evolved a great deal and have funding for students from all walks of life. I'm not sure if you're aware. We give away over $1 million annually. We have over 40 unique scholarship programs. We do financial aid advice and counseling. Has anybody heard of College Cash? Maybe been to a College Cash event? That's okay, because I'll share that information with your counselor in the back and make sure that you all have an opportunity to attend this year. But we get really into the specifics of securing a scholarship, competing for a scholarship. Where do you find them? What things can you do to set yourself out above the rest? And a few other things. We dig a little deeper. And we do talk about student loan repayment as well. So those are just a few of our College Cash topics. A little bit about our requirements. Our application, like the FAFSA, opens January 1st and closes April 1st, so a little different than the FAFSA. So January 1 to April 1, you can apply for Central Scholarship funds. Our family income cap is $90,000, so it has to be $90,000 or less for a family to qualify for Central Scholarship funding. We fund graduating high school seniors who will be first-time college freshmen in the fall. We fund undergraduates. You could be a sophomore, junior, senior. If you're an undergrad and you fit the other criteria, you should apply with Central Scholarship, or you should share with your family members or friends who are eligible to apply with Central Scholarship, because we do have funding for undergrads, graduate students, and professional students as well. Students must be attending an accredited U.S. college. And we require that students be U.S. citizens or permanent residents. So those are our basic criteria. So we're going to get into the good stuff. And Bené Edwards shared with you information about the FAFSA. So I won't quiz you or wear you thin and tell you more about that. She talked about Maryland state money, where to find it, what the deadlines are. And I'm going to talk a little bit about private scholarships. So someone asked a question in the back. Where do I find this money? I'll tell you a little bit of information I just read. Sally Mae just put out a report not too long ago. It's called How America Pays for College. And in that report, they said of those who receive scholarships, 60% receive their scholarships from colleges or universities. So it could be you've applied to a college honors program. Maybe you're selected, you're admitted, and you receive an honor scholarship. It could be there's a need-based scholarship that you're considered for once your application rolls through admissions. Or there could be university funds that you have to apply for directly. Maybe it's through the dean of your particular department if you are a psych major or an engineering major or whatever it may be. But the biggest part, that 60%, is going to come from your college or university. Your college or university is going to do you some other favors, even if they don't give you institutional money, because it's not promised. Not everybody will receive it. And there are some nuances to applying for college that can increase your chances of receiving funding, but it's a little complicated, not necessarily the topic for today. But if you have juniors who will be applying next year, College Cash might be a good, shameless plug, a good place to come in and hear a little bit more about that. But your college is going to do you a favor in that they're going to list all of the scholarships that their students have received, because they know that, one, college is very expensive, and not everyone can afford to cover that entire bill. Just walk in with that check and say, well, federal government gave me a Pell Grant, and I have some loan money to share, and then I have this $5,000 left, I'm just going to take care of that. They know that a lot of families are closing the gap. So, electronic search engines. Those are one way of finding scholarships. You've probably heard of a ton. FastWeb, College Board, scholarships.com. Sally Mae has a pretty good search engine as well, although she's also going to tell you a little bit about those loans too, so you have to step into that site with a discerning eye and be careful what you sign up for. But just a few tips on the electronic search engines. You're going to see a few different types of scholarships in there. You might see scholarships that are artistic, write a poem, submit a video, etc. Those are the kind of scholarships that are kind of overlooked. You know, some students are, I'm not really that artistically talented and I don't want to get in front of the camera. That's too much work. I came here to write an essay. I'm going to write an essay. So that's one type of scholarship that's overlooked. Students often overlook smaller scholarships. $500, $250, $1,000, sometimes less than $1,500. They say, I need a big scholarship. If I'm going to do all this work, I want $2,500. I want $5,000. Heck, I want $10,000. I want a big scholarship. But a lot of students really make the most impact by cobbling together smaller scholarships. So that's something to keep in mind on your search. And as you're helping your children or youth with search as well. Try to stay away from some of those gaming type scholarships. They're kind of like lotteries. If you log in every day and you play this game or you do this activity, then you have a chance of a drawing or whatever. I mean, you could do it if you're feeling lucky and want to spend the time. However, you can spend a lot of time playing those games that are on those sites and not necessarily get a scholarship. That might be a time to volunteer, to boost your overall package and to look more impressive to universities and scholarship providers. It might be time to work on essays for scholarships that you qualify for. So I would say pick scholarships, and they all have search features, whether it be your major, where you're from, gender, a number of other topics, so that you can search through scholarships that are a good fit for you. Just like your college process, where you want to apply for reach, realistic, and backup colleges, the scholarship process is similar to that as well. You don't apply for any and everything you see, and I know sometimes people will offer that advice. Any and every scholarship, apply for it. However, you only have so much time in the day and so much energy. Pick what is a good fit for you. If you have a student who has a ton of community service, they've been volunteering for their church for the past 5 years, maybe they've been participating in ROTC at Pikesville High School, whatever it may be, and they have a story to tell and experiences that have helped them grow in this community service that they participated in, that's a good scholarship. If you have a student who maybe, volunteered at the soup kitchen once or twice, and maybe stays after school every now and again and tutors a fellow student, maybe a community service scholarship isn't the best one. Maybe this student who isn't really service-oriented is interested in engineering. Let's look for scholarships that focus on students interested in engineering with a certain GPA or whatever it may be. I think you get the point. Picking what is a strong fit and putting that first and kind of moving down, the list, some might be a bit more of a reach. So something to keep in mind. We talked about university websites, your guidance counselor, who invited us in, Ms. Edwards, to talk about federal aid and state aid, and myself. I'm sure he's well aware of many local scholarships, which are, by the way, less competitive, often have relationships with schools, with your school, or with your community. They're familiar, and it's not the same as a national scholarship where you might have a lower chance of securing funding because you're competing against many more students. Doesn't mean you shouldn't apply, but it's just kind of a check for why applying local is such a good idea. And then Googling. Sometimes our students have come across opportunities just by playing with a keyword search. Baltimore County scholarship, psychology, or whatever it may be. Just playing with Google sometimes will get you to some unique opportunities. So private scholarship tips. A lot of this might actually parallel what Ms. Edwards shared about federal aid. She talked about that pot of money, right, your state money. And I told you 60% of those who receive funding are receiving funding from the college, right? Then you move down the list, you have about 30% that are receiving it from community organizations. And then you have about 18% who are receiving it from the state scholarships. So you know kind of where these funds are coming from. So you want to look early in all of those areas. Choose wisely. We talked about applying local and why it's important to pick scholarships that you are a good fit for and make those a priority and move on down your list. And then, we could run down a lot of the basics, and maybe I could just say it really fast. Follow directions, be neat, be professional. No bubblegum45 at Yahoo, because then when we go, oh, Jessica was so fantastic. What's her email? Who's bubblegum? I'm so confused. I'm moving on. Next student. Does it always negate a student's chance of getting a scholarship? I'll tell you no. Do we have students that we've awarded that have weird emails? Yes. But if it came down to, I'll tell you when it hurts a student. The application is already borderline. The essay was so-so. There are about 5 students in the application pool that we're looking at that could receive funding. We're not really sure if they really thought about, why they want to go to college. It's just kind of right there, but they had a really heartfelt story, and we see some potential. It just kind of tips it over on the wrong side. You don't want to leave yourself open to being tipped over on the wrong side, and not getting a scholarship when you could be literally right there. So whatever you can do to keep it clean, whether it be a professional email, spell checking, getting other people to read as well, because we all do it, even professionals. You've worked on a document and you think it looks clean, you've read it 75 times because you probably have OCD like I do. And then, you send it to a colleague and they go, oh, but you spelled this one thing wrong. And you're like, how did I not see that? You don't want that to happen to you. So rely on others to give you a fresh eye. Standing out, we'll talk a little bit about standing out along the way and what that really means. Write an interesting essay. God, that's the toughest part, right? So look, here's a little fun thing that has to do with proofreading, just to give you an idea. Can anyone see that? It's kind of small, right? Oh, so sad. We'll skip that. Never mind. It's kind of only funny if you can read it. So let's talk about some of the essay topics. So you'll find for private scholarships that they touch on a number of these topics here. So it might be the industry or field of specialization, your major, what your plans are. And they want to know, why are you interested in this? For a lot of students, they might have an aha moment. I met a student at NACAC, which is the National College Fair in downtown Baltimore, and she wanted to be a lawyer. And I said, well, how are you going to make your essay interesting? And how did you know you wanted to be a lawyer? You're so young. Tell me about that. And she said, well, it all started in 3rd grade. Somebody broke the water fountain. And Miss Smith made us do a mock trial. And I had to defend so-and-so. And then she went on and told us, and I was like, you actually have the beginning of your scholarship essay right there. It all started with a broken water fountain. If someone's asking you, why do you want to be a lawyer? Imagine that as your intro, and you're like, what does a water fountain have to do with being a lawyer? So it just has to do with kind of determining that aha moment. Why do you want to do this? It can't be you saw it on TV And it can't be, well, I think I want to be a nurse because I like helping people, and it can't stop there because it just falls flat, right? You know, maybe you've never had experience in being a nurse, but maybe you've investigated it really well. Like a student can articulate why they want to be a pediatric nurse. And you can tell that they've actually read some literature about it. It's like, wow, they really thought about this. So there are just some elements that come into play that make it pop a little more and sometimes can make it, you know, fall flat. Current events or social issues. They just want to see your problem solving, your awareness, what's going on in the world. Personal achievements, background and influences. You might talk about someone in your life who was influential and why that is. Your future plans and goals. Financial need. Just a couple of areas where your scholarship questions might fall. But when you're answering these questions, it's so important to show and not tell, right? A lot of students kind of fall into the trap of telling. You know, I want to become a psychologist because I like helping people and I don't want them to be upset. And, you know, you're telling, but if you talk about, if you maybe introduce a scenario where you've had to help a friend through an issue, that might be a different way to approach it. You have to help the reader to feel it. And it's about being human and sharing emotions. Sometimes I think students feel that they feel the pressure of having to be perfect, right? And it's the humanity in the essays that really make them pop and come alive. Were you scared? Were you intimidated? Were you excited? Did you realize it was the worst thing? What did you learn? How did you evolve? It's when students are able to really describe this feeling and this experience, it's a lot more alive than I want to do this because, and there you go. So good writing is supposed to evoke the sensation of something, evoke the sensation in the reader, not that it's raining, but the feeling of being rained upon. So, that's pretty fun. So we talked about showing instead of telling, using an anecdote or two. You know, often in a scholarship application, you'll be asked for like the basic stuff. You're filling in the blanks, you know, where you went to school and what you studied and your GPA and all that jazz. You'll often have to submit a resume. And your resume is like your skeleton. All those things that you are involved in. It's the only place you can laundry list. You can't laundry list in your essay because that's where you're supposed to be, you know, evoking sensation. So you can't laundry list there. So that might even be a good brainstorming point. You know, having a student work on their resume and say, wow, look at all these things that I've done. Now, have there been any really powerful moments along the way that I can share in an essay? Taking those moments, you know, not laundry listing and saying, well, I was president of SGA, and then I was in, you know, such and such and such and such. Maybe you talk about what was the most difficult experience being SGA president. And one student talked about getting students excited and helping to build school spirit. And she talked about an activity where she did that and, you know, some tough points and then some celebratory points. I mean, she took, you know, the bones and then shoved some guts in there and blood, you know, and made it alive. It breathed then. It's not that, you know, only talking about what's going on in class, only talking about your GPA. It's emotions and thoughts and your experience, your evolution, you know, breathing some life into it. So I know this is a, you know, violation of the rules for PowerPoint, so I won't make you read all this and I won't read all of it to you. Our essay is a little more, one of our essays, we have 3 very short essays in our application. One is kind of career-oriented, or why you want to go to college. And these were just a couple lines that really stood out to us as readers. I really love the one at the end, so I'm going to read you that one, and I promise not to read all of them. I was trying to finish all of my homework before the light goes off. It was our village's turn today. I ate dinner early and prepared the candles and flashlights. In Ethiopia, each town and village had to take turns using electricity. Nights spent doing homework by candlelight influenced my choice of major, nuclear engineering. He took a story, an experience. You could feel like, wow, can you imagine being in that scenario? He described it. He didn't say, well, I want to be an engineer because it was tough living in Ethiopia and sometimes we didn't all have power. He approached it from a different angle and kind of like let you experience what he was experiencing in the essay. He breathed some life into it. I always think of this student, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't think I can say it, but we'll call him James. Second to the last, James. I absolutely loved meeting him, and I really liked his essay too, but I'll read it to you and I'll tell you a little bit more about him. So everyone born is given a life, but only few create a legacy. I believe that my legacy is to change the world by helping others. I was inspired to devote my life to business and politics because I grew up in a place where people did not care about politics, nor did they see business as a means to solve the world's problems. I did. And what was really cool about James is that he was this inner city kid, lived with his grandma, didn't really go to the best school, but he actually was really into politics, really into reading the news, and just aspired to, he had this aspiration just because no one else had it. He said, well, you know what? I want to be a part of change. I don't want to be one of the people complaining. I want to, be a part of what's happening in the future. I mean, that was just pretty impressive for us. I thought that was pretty powerful, so I hope you did too. So specific examples, not saying, well, I think I want to be a biochemist because this is what biochemists do and blah, blah, blah. But she actually talked about working at UMBC's Meyerhoff Summer Biomedical Training Program. It's something that's cool that kind of happens in essays sometimes. Sometimes a student who's writing educates us on a topic that we didn't know a lot about. And it's kind of cool. Like, you really got into that because I had no idea there was an HIV 1 and an HIV 2. And I kind of took out some of what she said because it got really lengthy at one point. But she talked about how she aspires to become a biochemist because not only did she conduct HIV research, I love that she took ownership. She's conducting it with her team. But her team taught her what life would be like. So this I use this example because I just want to highlight how important it is for your students, children, loved ones, to get outside of the classroom, even outside of school activities sometimes. It's an internship, a volunteer experience. It's experiences with other adults outside of the school setting that sometimes challenge students to think on a higher level. They communicate differently. It helps them to develop a vision. I know as parents, I have a younger sister, she's 10 years younger, and I'm kind of pseudo-mom. But it's like after a while, you're trying to tell them about life, and it's like, wah, 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 okay, gotcha. So having them exposed to other things outside of their community leads to them being able to tell stories like this is so important. Another example from a student using a specific experience. She said, it deeply troubled me to realize that I'd gotten the medical attention I needed when I was sick because I was from a wealthier area. If I'd lived in Brenton, West Virginia, I wouldn't have even had the option. I spent a lot of time that ASP, Appalachia Service Project Summer, thinking about medical care in high poverty areas and left knowing that I wanted to be someone who will one day be a part of change and improvement in healthcare access in Appalachia. So, and what do you do? Okay, so I'm giving you examples of students who have gotten out of the school and done a ton of different things. What do you do if, you can't? You're going to class and you're going home. Maybe you're helping at home and there's not a lot of time or money to do other things. Here's an example of a student who talks about an experience in class in a way that's just really interesting and really steered her towards her major. And then I promise I won't read you any more long things. Okay? I chose computer science, or computer programming, as an elective in 10th grade and promptly began spending many a break in the computer lab deciphering lines of code and racking my brains with formulas. I took a web design course in school and continued to take programming through 11th and 12th grades. However, due to lack of interest, surely not, this year's programming class was abandoned. And then she talks about, even though it wasn't a part of her daily routine, she still continued to volunteer as a editor of the yearbook. So she was really excited. It was something that just happened in her school. However, you can see that she's passionate. She's not telling you directly, here are my 3 character traits of who I am. I'm passionate, I'm determined, and I am this, and I want to do this, because she's not even explicitly stating character traits that define her. However, when she tells her story, when she puts the blood and guts, in the skeleton, hear it's breathing life, you get a sense of who she is. So thank you for being patient while I read a little bit of the tiny script. So skipping from the essays, which, you know, I've probably burned a hole in your ears talking about the essays, but let's talk about scholarship tips in reference to recommendations. We don't ask for letters of recommendation, so when your students apply, they have to be their own advocates, and they have to really show who they are, not tell, but show who they are. Building relationships is so huge. Networking can be an intimidating term. However, it's just making friends. It's just acknowledging, whether it be staying after class and saying, you know, Mr. Goldman, thank you for doing this. I really appreciated it. Whether it be, and this is a tip that works really well and not everybody takes advantage, but this probably won't be the last time, I'm guessing, that someone from the community or from an organization comes into the high school. It happens often, especially for your seniors. How many seniors send an email thanking that person for coming in? My name is Jen. I just wanted to say thank you. I really found such and such interesting. And like, we go over the top. Like, we're so excited, so thrilled when that happens, because it just shows a maturity. It's about, we won't say networking because that's a little intimidating, just building relationships. You're making friends. You're just being nice, making friends. Here you've made a friend. Here someone notices you. I had a student I was really impressed with who did that. He took that advice, and he would show up at an event, and he would just come by and say, hey, Miss Jen, I just want to say hi, see how everything's going. Looks like it's busy over here. I took your advice on that essay. Can't wait till you read it. All right, have a great one. And I was just like, he was at the top of my list to get funding. I was like, this guy's taking the advice. I mean, when you talk about standing out, it's not just submitting that application and letting it out in space, but when you have opportunities where a college representative comes in or scholarship provider comes in, I mean, that's an opportunity just to be remembered right there and to step out, you know, from your peers. And even to stand up, you know, at the end and make that connection. So just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not sure the process at Pikesville High School, back to recommendations, but if you guys do brag sheets, helping students or helping those who are writing your letter of recommendation to remember why you're so awesome. Following up, saying thank you. All important. The process, you know, funding college doesn't stop right here, because of course they're high school seniors. They're moving off to their first year of college. And of course, you know, you can get central scholarship funding, you know, all throughout undergrad and beyond. But we're not the only ones. There may be money available at the university. There may be other funding available as well. Your student should always be evolving, always growing. What can they be involved in that's going to help them grow? Internships, volunteer opportunities, whether it be clubs on campus. These are the types of things that will allow them to have the experiences that they can use to highlight who they are to scholarship readers, scholarship organizations, or future employers. I mean, I don't have to say right now, you know, that it's very competitive. The job market is very competitive, even for those of us who have already attained our college degrees and beyond. So, you know, volunteering, internships, so huge. I can't stress it enough. Sometimes a university may tell you, well, internships are usually for sophomores and juniors and seniors, or you're freshmen, so it's a little early for you. Have them keep checking in. There might be an opportunity that hasn't been taken advantage of, especially if you're at a smaller institution. Sometimes it happens at the larger institutions as well. But that's another opportunity to have experiences that are just going to help you stand out amongst your peers. So that's it for me, for private scholarships. I mean, I'm open to questions if you have any. Yes?
So what is College Cash? Is that an event?
Yes. I'm sorry I didn't articulate that very well, or explain that very well, but College Cash is an event. We have two in January, at the end of January, one in Baltimore and one in Howard County. And what we'll cover in this session is comparing your financial aid award letters, so you can pick really the college that's giving you the best deal. And then we'll talk about composing scholarship essays and probably a few other things, but more in depth. You know, it's making me think of one thing I want to share, because I know that you guys haven't decided on colleges just yet. But sometimes people make a college decision before having the financial conversations. And scholarships, the average scholarship is about 7,000 or 8,000, and that's average. So that means there's some who only get 2,000, and some who might get 10,000. But if your college is 30,000, and they give you a $10,000 scholarship, and you're like, this is great. They want me. I've got this huge scholarship. What's the gap? You know, this is an investment, but it's also a purchase, and you have to make smart purchases. So that's one thing that we'll be helping with as well. So yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so I just need clarity. So
Yes.
this college cash event is, you can participate to the $90,000 cap.
Well, anyone can participate. I mean, you don't have to, you only have, the cap is really to qualify for our scholarships. And sometimes you can be a little bit over and still apply. But it's open to the community. It's open to, you know, anyone who wants to attend. It's really just about advice for funding college and making a smart financial investment. And closer to the spring, we just started inviting a guest in who talks about the student loan repayment process, because it's very confusing. It's tough to tell, you know, which one is the right one to take advantage of, and so she tends to advise on that. And it's an evolving workshop series as well. So there'll be other topics in the future, and I'm sure if I share with Mr. Goldman, he'll spread the word with all of you. Any other questions? All right. I hope that was helpful.
I took a couple of notes of things to share to sort of fill in some gaps, but I know Delegate Stein also wanted to address you guys.
Sure. Hi, good evening. I'm Delegate Dana Stein. I will be brief. Two main points. First is, please don't forget about these legislative scholarships. You know, there are 4 representatives, 3 delegates, and 1 senator per district. I'm one of 3 delegates. Delegate Dan Morheim, Delegate John Carr, and the other delegates, and Senator Bobby Zurkin from this district. We each have scholarship funds. You'd be surprised. There have been a couple years where I wondered whether I would get enough applications to be able to give out the money that we do have. Now, the grants are not huge. They start down, you know, $200 is the minimum. On the delegate side, it goes up to about $1,000. On the senatorial side, it goes higher than that. But the application forms are pretty simple. You can contact our offices to get the, you know, our respective websites. And there is a presumption that they're renewable. So consider the fact there are 4 legislators per district. They're renewable. It can add up to a significant amount of money. However, I do want to emphasize one thing which Vinay sort of implied, but should be specified more directly. They really are for students who are going to in-state schools. If you're going to, and it could be public or private in-state, but if you're going out of state, you have to establish that the major that you're pursuing at that out-of-state school is unique, and so then MHEC, Maryland, you know, the agency that Vinay's from, would have to certify that that is a unique major, which is a bit of a process to go through. So please don't forget about this. I have some cards and I can leave, and also Jeremy, I'm sure, can put you in the right direction to reach us. The second thing is, I'm part of a state commission which is looking at the issue of student debt. You know, certainly there is a lot of scholarship money out there between public, you know, the Pell grants, the state grants, the money, central scholarship. But in the end, a lot of students will have to borrow money to get through college. I did. I'm sure a lot of folks did. The cost of college, you know, continues to go up at twice the rate of inflation. Though in-state schools, fortunately, the rate has been pretty moderate. College student loans exceed now credit card debt, so it's a major factor in our economy. So we're looking at ways at what the state can do to try to improve the transparency with respect to what college costs are, what we can do to promote 5 to 529 plans, which I'm sure you've heard about. For example, if we increase the modest state tax incentive, would that encourage more investments in 529s? Should through MF, publicize information about career salaries so that students, when they get to the point, if they have to take student loans, they can figure out, okay, is it reasonable for me to graduate a 4-year school with, say, $75,000, $80,000 a day, given the major that I'm going to be pursuing, the type of career I want to pursue. So those are the issues we're looking at. Since the hour's late, I don't want to sort of get into an extended discussion about these. But I just want to say, if you have any interest or suggestion, interest in any of the topics I mentioned, or any suggestions as to what we at the state level can do to help with the issue of college aid, and specifically, the fact that student debt is considerable, please let me know. I'd be very interested in talking with you. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll start at the top then and work my way back a little bit. So right off the bat, when you talk about salaries, I just want to let you know, those of you who couldn't make it to our college planning workshop that we had in October, we activated parent accounts. Many of you were here. Those of you who weren't, if you'd like, we can try to get that done tonight. It might take a little time because last night we had more staff, and this time it might take a little time, but I can get it worked out if you want to, or just email and we can work it out over email. But that's Navient's Family Connection. Navient's is a website program that Baltimore County Public Schools and Dr. Dance, the superintendent, signed a contract to establish this 5-year contract. A lot of money to get this going, and it really has a wealth of information, not just to send transcripts electronically, but it's also good for college searches, which the school counselors are using right now to meet with all the juniors individually. And we just finished career lessons with the 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders. And part of the 9th grade lesson that we had was for the 9th graders to find their career cluster, and within that career cluster, we showed them how to access average salaries per state for their chosen career cluster. So all the students have access to it. It was just the 9th graders that's now part of our 4-year plan to use Navient's. If you have 9th graders, ask them. If you have somebody older than 9th grade, go ahead and get them into that cluster finder in the Navient's career section. So that's that part. The issue with the private schools and the public schools, I do want to say that referencing the EFC, that's a constant. So your expected family contribution, doesn't matter what college the student goes to, your family's going to be expected to pay whatever it's going to be expected to pay based on the salary of the previous year of the parent and the child. So if that's your EFC, then we get into that private and public. So that's where there are variables, that the tuition for a public college in-state might be really low at the outset, and then the private colleges are sort of variable because they aren't bound by state legislature to have reduced tuition for residents. They can sort of determine how they award that money. If your child is that strongly sought after, then they might find that you say that average $7,000 or $9,000, you might be on the low end of that average if a child like the applicant is a dime a dozen. If everybody at the college looks like you. If you end up going to a college where you bring a lot of unique qualities, whether it's your interests, your passion, your political leanings, diversity, whether it's visible or invisible, geographic diversity is a big one. We don't have a lot of students from Pikesville High School applying to Reed College in Oregon. So your perspective as a 17-year-old from Baltimore, whatever your family perspective happens to be, is unique. Those private colleges, the smaller ones, they take the time to get to know who you are. And if they don't have many applicants coming from your world, whatever that world happens to be, then you may find that they may be more likely to offer the higher end of that average. So that EFC remains the same, and so you may find that gap is going to be more covered if you bring that kind of diversity. It just comes down to whether you're willing to make that sacrifice to go to, say, Oregon, or to go to a college that is Catholic in nature and you happen to be Jewish, or is liberally political and you happen to be really conservative. If you're willing to be different, you're going to find that there's money there for these smaller private colleges. The public colleges, they're so formulaic in their admissions and, of course, in their scholarships as well, it's going to be harder to get that sort of edge. So that's that. I'll say many. Private colleges, in addition to using the FAFSA, also use the CSS profile. I haven't heard that acronym used tonight. CSS profile is a scholarship search within the College Board. It is required by some colleges, the Ivy League colleges, University of Michigan, for instance. So when you're looking at scholarships and whether you're looking at financial aid, you want to make sure do they require the CSS profile, and you need to make sure that that gets in at least 2 weeks before the deadline. They don't have fee waivers at the outset of applying. There's like a $70 application fee for the CSS, I believe, and you can't just say, well, because I'm in Avid or because I qualify for free reduced lunch, I get it. You need to submit it, and then they'll tell you, based on the information that you provide, if you get that CSS profile. The CSS profile is there not just so they can make sure that you're not hiding the house on the eastern shore or at Ocean City, and you plan to sell that to pay for college, which they will ask about. They're going to ask many other questions to try to find other sources of college cash to help fund college. So they're going to help you find other scholarships through the CSS profile. So you need to look for that CSS profile and see whether they're required or not. How to look for private scholarships. Twitter is huge. I have the feed up there of College Cash. Every Thursday night, used to be at 10 o'clock Eastern time because Jody Okin's on the West Coast. Now she moved it to 8 p.m. Eastern time every Thursday night. So right now they're talking about finding internships and jobs over winter break for college students. If you use the hashtag College Cash, things are tweeted throughout the week, but especially for an hour every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, they have a different topic to help people find different tips, how to use different resources. Using that College Cash theme as well, write this down. I can have it here nice and big. You get us a keyboard work? Can you all see that? tinyurl.com/PHS College Cash. I'll make it bigger. Bigger still. Yeah, there we go. tinyurl.com/PHS College Cash. I click on that. Ms. Billingsley and Ms. Murphy and I maintain a Google document of every scholarship that we hear about gets posted on there. At the beginning, I have a link to the blog that I've created, and I'll show that in a second. We have the announcement about tonight's event, every Thursday night about the College Cash. You can use Pinterest to find scholarships, and I have a link to a Pinterest search for scholarships. CCBC has videos about finding scholarships, and that's available there. I have a link to last year's video that I did for this presentation. I'll do it again this year. I'll work through Ms. Johnson to post it on her YouTube page. Congressman Cummings had a How to Pay for College. I hadn't heard about the College Cash, so we'll post that as well. The PIN website to activate your PIN for the FAFSA. College Goal Sunday, that was also on my list. There's a link here about College Goal Sunday. Sunday, February 2nd, I believe, I think at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Loyola. You don't have to go that day to that place, but that's the one that's closest to us. Loyola and other financial aid offices will be available to help parents complete their FAFSA. So most of us get our W-2s at the last possible moment, January 31st, and so many of us try to wait. It's best if you can estimate early, but if you want to wait until your W-2s, fine. Go ahead and bring all your documents to Loyola University on February 2nd, and you just register at the College Goal Sunday MD. You don't have to write that down because it's available at tinyurl.com/PHS College Cash. Then, further down, here I have about half of our schools represented by Legislative District 11, and then 42. So I have links to John Carden, Dana Stein, Dan Morheim's websites, Bobby Zirkin's website. So they all have their own applications, and there are links to their applications from here. The 42nd District is a little different, because of those 4, 2 of them get their information straight from MHEC, the Maryland Higher Ed Commission. So they need that FAFSA. Everybody else needs a FAFSA, but they really rely on the FAFSA wholly. The other 2, Jim Brochin and Stephen Lafferty, they have their own applications. So I have links to their websites to complete their applications, if you live in the 42nd District. Then we get into regional scholarships. So this is where you're going to find the Central Scholarship Bureau's website. You're going to find websites for the Dr. Hairston Scholarship. You're going to find information about retired teachers for Baltimore County and so on. All of that's in here. And I will say, one of them in there is the First Financial Credit Union. We had one student apply for the First Financial Credit Union scholarship, and guess who won? All you have to do is have an account with First Financial Credit Union. We'll send them all the applicants, and then they're going to decide, well, when we only send one applicant, then that person wins it. So here, this is, I'm scrolling slowly. These are all regional. Baltimore County, Baltimore area, sometimes the entire state of Maryland. That's all Baltimore. Then national. Oh, we know there was, and then local, yeah, regional, and then national. So as we hear about those, we post them on the Google Doc. The local ones, we're going to be in EPI and Econ classes right at that cusp, at the end of this first semester, beginning of the second semester, to explain the local scholarship program. The documents last year were posted on Edline. This year we're trying to make the process a little bit more electronic by having the students apply straight through Naviance. Mr. Hayden, who's the coordinator for school counselors throughout Baltimore County, as he hears about scholarships, he's posting them for the county all on the Naviance Family Connection. So now that's getting populated with county-specific scholarships in addition to what we hear and post on there. So that's another resource. What else? Locals, College Goal Sunday. Oh, and last one about the thank you notes. I know, like, after things are done, it's hard to get kids to come back, but it's really the right thing to do. You guys know as adults. But it's really the right thing to do. Yes, definitely, as a follow-up after you do the interviews. But all those folks that put in time outside of their job expectations, it's good to follow up. You don't have to do a fancy, expensive thank you gift card or whatever. Just a nice handwritten note acknowledging that.
Oh, I just wanted to add something to that. I'll be really brief. Even for us as a scholarship organization, we have some students who stay in touch and some who don't stay in touch. And I'll tell you, like, a unique situation. We asked one of the recipients to come speak at the board. Every now and again, we'll invite a student in to tell their story. Well, she actually came in, she presented her story to the board. She's participated in a ton of stuff, and she emails us to let us know how she's doing. And she's probably been Scholar of the Month time or two. Well, actually, a member of our board ended up donating $5,000 just for her, just to fund her education because of that. So the importance of saying thank you is tremendous, and staying in touch is tremendous. We talk about network, but they have to understand now the importance of networking is just about staying in touch with those who are helping you, because people, you know, will continue to help you if they see great things and you stay in touch. So thank you for letting me interrupt that.
So the link here for the blog, and you can click there, or just the easiest thing, seriously, is our little brand that we've created is PHS Fit. If you do a search for PHS FIT, the first thing that's going to come up is a blog post that I wrote about what is PHS Fit, which is our big push about finding a good fit for college majors, careers, classes, activities, friends. That's really important to me as an identity in the school. And I found when I first came here, kids were sort of lost in making decisions based on unusual external influences. So I'm really pushing about that. So if you just click on that, that'll take you to the blog. So the blog has lots of good resources. I know we have students and families from different grade levels, so I have different tabs per grade level. But I have a tab for paying for college resources. From this, now there's the link to the PHS College Cash. Really easy. You don't have to memorize anything except PHS Fit. Now we have links to everything that I referenced. The actual video embedded for Maryland Higher Ed Commission, or FAFSA, the PIN website, the financial aid process. That's all there. And if there's something that you find that you feel like I should add, then let me know and I'll add it. Okay? PHS Fit. Just write that down to really cover everything. I think that's it for tonight. Any questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody.